Hello again. In this video I'll show you the preparation of my main flower bed garden for the summer. There are plenty of phases to cover and I will be doing the work within several days during this spring. So you'll get this sort of comprehensive idea of what all sort of tasks are needed to get the flower bed looking fine when the summer comes. Here I'm clipping off the blooms of my hydrangeas from the last summer. This quite simple procedure will encourage them to bloom even better this year, and I also clear off the branches that grow too thickly, leaving behind only the strongest branches, because those are the ones that will produce the big blooms. I could also leave the small branches to the bush, but those smaller branches will produce only these quite small flowers, and if I would never take off these smaller branches, the whole bush would grow into this more bushy state, where all the blooms would in fact be smaller. So the idea here is to simply favor the big branches with big blooms, and to get this sort of quite handsome looking, almost small tree-like bush at the end. Then it's time for basic cleaning. I'll clear off the dead parts from these perennials here that are already starting to come up from the ground, and I'll also rake off the leaves. I find the clearing of the old debris to be quite pleasing, especially if I have the chance to do it in these relatively dry conditions. Because in conditions like these, everything is very light and soft and sort of peels off from the ground very easily. So yeah, the work goes quite light and easy. Next I'll add some soil to this flower bed since I have widened it to some extent. In one of my previous videos you can see that work phase. But yeah, there's a real need to add some good soil on top of the clay soil that we have naturally here. I must confess that so far during my gardening years I haven't been very good with fertilizing. It's something that I always seem to forget. This year, however, I try to do at least a bit better. Right now I'm adding some horse manure granules to this entire flower bed because that's the type of manure that should, at least in theory, improve the soil composition and of course give more power for the plants to grow. There are some fertilizers that are recommended only for some plants, but I think this is the type of natural fertilizer that you can sort of quite freely give to all types of plants. From these preparations done here in April, we'll next jump forward in time to May. As you can see, the perennials here have now really started to come up. But unfortunately, so have the weeds. Indeed, at this point I have no other choice than to start weeding if I don't want the weeds to completely take over, because that they would do. I think the very definition of weeds is that they are simply the most powerful plants in your ecosystem, so they will take over any space that they can by suppressing the other weaker plants. Yes, if you recognize the weed that I'm now tackling with, ground elder or bishop's weed are some of the translations I found in English, but in Finnish we call it, quite directly translated, goat weed. It's a very hard one to get off from any garden, since its root system is like no other, I would say. It breaks down when you try to take it off, and if even a smallest amount of its roots is left on the ground, it usually comes up again. So I have sort of accepted that this is perhaps one of the weeds that I will always have to be weeding off from my garden. I will never get it completely away from here. And it doesn't help that directly under the peonies I have to be very careful when taking it off. I cannot dig because I have to be very careful of the clumpy root system of the peonies that sort of sits right under the surface. If some of you out there are wondering that this looks like very hard work, you would be right. I won't lie. This is very hard work. The positions on which one has to sort of maneuver oneself while moving in between the flowers and the weeds are sometimes quite awkward. So yes, I'm not able to say that I'm always operating in the most ergonomic positions, for example. And after a large weeding operation like with my main flower bed here, this definitely is, I will have very sore muscles here and there, well, pretty much everywhere around my body, but that's simply something that one sort of is willing to endure to get a beautiful flower bed at the end. And at least for now, I haven't come up with any aches that I wouldn't have healed from. So yeah, it's good to stretch, of course, and try to take care of your working positions so that you wouldn't strain yourself in ways that are unnecessary. But yeah, I would say that it's almost impossible to avoid awkward positions to some extent. One good thing is to sort of always be changing one's position. As you can see, that's something that I do pretty much all the time. I'm never sort of staying in one weeding position for a very long time. I like to change my position quite often. That seems to work for me, at least when doing something that's quite hard for one's body. And yes, the thing that I would perhaps stress first and foremost is to keep a good mental attitude, because with everything that is a bit hard and takes a long time, it's very important to keep up the good spirit and stay positive. Anyway, let's get back to the task at hand. Here are some of the small Achillea plants that have self-seeded here from their more mature counterparts. And this is of course great. Free plants for me. So what I'm doing now is that I'm digging these up from here because they are growing too thickly, and I'll simply plant them elsewhere where there's more room for them. would be crazy enough to still want to have a huge flower bed of their own after watching this video? Well, I hope there are plenty of you guys out there still, because even though this can be just as bad as this looks, the end result will reward you ampleful. And this is of course why we garden crazy people do this lunatic madness stuff. So just you wait. If you're not into gardening yet, once you get going, you'll become just as crazy as the ones before you. But will one have time for any other things in life if one goes garden crazy? Well, that is a good question. For it does seem that there are some people who have no other life than gardening. But at least for myself, I can vouch that I even cannot garden as much as I would like to, since I have my day job to take care of. And I also have my family to spend time with, so it's good that they sometimes even quite forcefully demand that I'll do something else, like go to a day trip with them. After all, there are plenty of beautiful places in Finland. Some of those I have also filmed as garden tours for you guys to see. But in all honesty, I feel I must confess that gardening can sometimes go a bit too far. Also for me, because I am one of those people who always tends to want more. I mean, it seems to be like one idea after it's been realized sort of leads to another, almost like it gives birth to this new idea, having get something done, which is quite bizarre of course, but that's the way it seems to go. Now though, it's time for the final stretch of the weeding. Okay, I decided to take this final clip a few days later because now all those baby plants of the older perennials here that I moved around mainly to the front section of the flower bed, since there was more room there, of course, since I just widened the flower bed this spring. These have had now a few days time to settle into their new growing place, and therefore they look better now than they did right after transplanting. Especially the lupins, I have found that they can suffer quite badly, in fact, from transplanting, because they can wilt quite badly, especially in direct sunlight. Indeed, after having some casualties, I learned that it may be good to place a bucket or something on top of them directly after transplanting if the weather is very sunny, and only expose them to the weather during the night time. That way they will survive the first few days. Anyway, now I believe it's about time I'll start to wrap up this video. I hope you have liked it, and if you would like to tag along to see more of these videos that I'm making, please consider subscribing the channel. It's completely free. Thank you for watching this one, and bye for now.